Hello, my name's Dan Coy. I'm the city forester here in Grand Rapids, and we're out here at Oak Grove Cemetery on a lovely afternoon. And I'm going to take you through the basics of Gypsy Moth egg mass scrapings. Gypsy Moth is an exotic invasive moth that came to our region back in the 1980s. We've seen a resurgency of them as of recently. And right here we have prime example of Gypsy Moth egg sacs. There's multiples here. I'm going to show you how to safely remove these to not harm the trees and also not harm yourself. That's why first and foremost we want to have gloves on when we do this, because some people have an allergic reaction to the larvae. And also it gets a little bit messy, and will keep you nice and clean. You also want to have eyewear protection with you, because these things can float in the wind if it's a windy day. If you get really aggressively scraping, you can get a piece of bark in your eye, something like that. So you want to keep yourself safe while you're helping these trees. And this is a big help to these trees, because these little egg sacs right here can have thousands of larvae in them. And those larvae, they'll hatch as caterpillars, and they'll crawl up the trees, and they can actually completely defoliate mature oak trees. And that's why we're out here to try to save the oak trees here at Oak Grove. This is a spruce tree. They also do go after spruce trees, but they really don't like them. They much prefer oaks, and the fact that we're seeing them here on the spruce tree is a sign that we've got a lot of them here. So this scraping is going to be beneficial to us to bring that population down. On top of the gloves and the eyewear, you also need a dull tool. I have chosen a putty knife, a plastic putty knife, nice and dull. I can scrape away at this. I'm not going to harm the tree. I'm not going to dig in the bark. You definitely don't want to use anything like a pocket knife or a handsaw, anything like that. You want to use something dull. You can use a butter knife. Plastic butter knife would be preferred. Just make sure it's a dull tool. And then you need a cup of soapy water. Nothing special here. It's water with soap in it. And the whole reason we do that is when we'll scrape the egg masses into the soapy water, the soap will coat them. So even when we go to dispose these, the caterpillars won't hatch out of that and then crawl up into a tree, because it'll be nice and coated and keep them from hatching. So here we go. You want to keep your cup close to the bark as you can, and just scrape into the cup. Try to get it in there. Try to get all of it in there. If anything falls on the ground, make sure to pick that up, because they will hatch on the ground and they'll crawl up the tree, and kind of defeats the purpose. And you can see there's a little bit that's flying away as I'm scraping. It's a good example of why we're wearing our safety goggles. We don't want to get any of that in our eyes, for sure, if we're allergic. But just in general, gotta keep yourself safe while you're out doing anything to help these trees out. Don't worry about getting 100% of it. Just get as much as you can without damaging the bark. And those little flyaways, we're not going to worry about those. There'll be a handful of eggs that'll hatch versus the thousands that we're removing. That's completely acceptable. And yeah, if you get a little bark in your water, don't worry about that either. And that's about it. It's as easy as that. You can do it at home with stuff you have at home.